In the age when time was not yet counted by years, when the breath of heaven still mingled with the sigh of earth, the world lay in silence, beneath a sky unformed. Mountains slept beneath veils of mist, rivers wandered without name, and the wind carried whispers of beginnings yet to come. It was an era before kings, before cities, before the sound of bronze bells, or the carving of words upon stone. In that vast stillness, the spirits of creation stirred, weaving threads of order from the fabric of chaos. From the womb of eternity rose the three sovereigns, beings of light and wisdom, guardians of the newborn world. They were not rulers in the manner of men, but shepherds of life, guiding the fragile steps of humankind along the path of survival and grace. Their names would echo through the corridors of legend, sung by poets and carved upon the memory of ages. Fuxi, Nüwa, and Shennong. Fuxi walked first among the mists, his form radiant as dawn upon the waters. He gazed upon the wandering tribes, their hands empty, their hearts bound by hunger and fear. With patient care, he taught them the art of weaving nets, so that rivers might yield their silver harvest. He shaped the strings of the first zither, and music flowed like a gentle stream, soothing the hearts of those who dwelt beneath the open sky. He spoke of union, of man and woman joined in harmony, and thus the custom of marriage was born, a bond that would endure beyond the fall of empires. Beside him moved Nüwa, the Divine Mother, her eyes deep as the pools of heaven. When the pillars of the sky were shattered and the earth gaped with wounds, she gathered stones of 5 colors and melted them in sacred fire. With hands of mercy, she mended the broken vault, setting the firmament upon its pillars once more. She shaped the clay of rivers into figures, breathing life into their forms, and thus mankind multiplied upon the green breast of the earth. Her song was the wind in the reeds, her touch, the warmth of spring upon the hills. Then came Shennong, the farmer god, whose brow was crowned with leaves and whose voice was the murmur of fields. He walked among the valleys, teaching men to till the soil, to sow the seed and reap the golden grain. He tasted the herbs of mountain and meadow, learning which healed and which harmed, and his tongue bore the bitterness of 100 poisons that others might live. Beneath his care, the wilderness blossomed into gardens, and hunger fled before the plough. Thus passed the age of the three sovereigns, an era of dawn and wonder, when the earth was young and the sky still wore the blush of birth. But time moves as the river moves, bearing all things upon its tide, and from the loins of legend sprang the 5 emperors, men of virtue whose deeds would shape the destiny of nations. The first among them was Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, whose banner rose like the sun over the plains. He was a sage and a warrior, a dreamer and a doer, who tamed the tribes and bound them in the cords of law. He taught the making of carts and the compass that points to the hidden north. He gave to men the gift of medicine, the art of healing wounds and soothing fevers. His voice was the thunder of command, yet his heart was tuned to the music of justice, and under his hand the land knew peace. After him came Zhuanxu, the celestial emperor, who lifted his gaze to the vault of heaven and set its courses in order. He decreed the rights that bound earth to sky, and his wisdom was a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Then followed Ku, the harmonious, whose reign was a song of balance, blending the cadence of music with the rhythm of law. His halls were filled with melody, and his judgments fell like notes upon the harp, clear and true. In the fullness of time arose Yao, the paragon, whose virtue was a beacon shining across the hills. He ruled not by the rod but by the light of example, and his people walked in the shadow of his goodness as flowers follow the sun. When age laid its hand upon his brow, he sought not a son to wear his crown, but a man of worth, and thus he found Shun, the humble, who tilled his fields with patient hands and honoured his parents with filial care. From the furrows of obscurity he raised him to the throne, and under Shun's rule the land blossomed like a garden in spring. So flowed the years, though men counted them not in numbers but in the turning of seasons and the ripening of fruit. The sky deepened from rose to azure, the rivers carved their paths through stone, and the deeds of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors sank into the soil of memory, there to root and flower in the songs of poets and the dreams of kings. Their names are the pillars of the past, their virtues the lamps that light the road of time. And though the dust of ages lies upon their brows, their glory shines eternal, bright as the dawn that broke upon the world when heaven first kissed the earth. The wind of ages swept across the valleys, carrying whispers of change. The time of the three sovereigns had passed like a dream at dawn, leaving behind the fragrance of wisdom and the seeds of civilization. Yet the earth was vast, and the hearts of men were restless. Tribes wandered beneath the sky, their banners fluttering like leaves in the breath of autumn, and the rivers sang of destinies yet unfulfilled. It was in this twilight of innocence that the five emperors rose, men of mortal birth yet crowned with immortal virtue, whose deeds would carve the pillars of history. The first among them was Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, whose name would shine like gold upon the scroll of time. His birth was veiled in omens, for the heavens trembled and the earth stirred when his cry first broke the silence of the hills. He grew beneath the shadow of mountains, his eyes deep as the pools of heaven, his mind keen as the edge of jade. When the tribes clashed upon the plains, their spears glittering like frost, Huangdi rose as a beacon amid the storm. He spoke not with the tongue of wrath, but with the voice of reason, binding the scattered clans with cords of law and threads of peace. Under his hand, the land blossomed, like a garden in spring. He taught the making of carts, that men might ride the wind across the fields. He gave them the compass, that the hidden north might yield its secrets. He shaped the art of medicine, blending the whispers of herbs with the wisdom of stars, and the shadow of sickness fled before his light. His halls were filled with the murmur of scholars, and his courts rang with the cadence of justice. Yet he was no stranger to the sword, for when the warlord Chio rose in fury, Huangdi led his hosts to battle beneath a sky torn by storm. The clash was fierce, the earth drank blood, and the cries of the fallen rolled like thunder across the hills. But Huangdi stood unyielding, his banner bright as dawn, and the storm broke upon the rock of his resolve. Thus was peace restored, and the land knew rest beneath the mantle of his reign. After him came Zhuanxu, the celestial sovereign, whose gaze was lifted to the vault of heaven. He walked among the temples, his steps slow, his thoughts deep, and his voice was the murmur of rites that bind earth to sky. He decreed the laws of worship, setting the altars in order, and the smoke of sacrifice rose like silver threads to the throne of the gods. He taught men the harmony of seasons, the dance of sun and moon, and the music of stars that sings the measure of time. Under his care, the chaos of heaven yielded to the rhythm of law, and the world moved as a harp beneath the fingers of a master. Then followed Ku, the harmonious, whose reign was a song of balance. His halls were filled with melody, the notes of flutes mingling with the laughter of streams, and his judgments fell like chords upon the harp, clear and true. He taught the blending of music with governance, that the hearts of men might beat in tune with the pulse of justice. His voice was soft as rain upon the leaves, yet his word was iron, and the land lay calm beneath the shadow of his wisdom. In the fullness of time arose Yao, the paragon, whose virtue was a beacon shining across the hills. His brow was crowned with the light of goodness, and his hands were clean of blood. He ruled not by the rod, but by the lamp of example, and his people walked in the glow of his righteousness, as flowers follow the sun. When age laid its hand upon his brow, he sought not a son to wear his crown, but a man of worth. And thus he found Shun, the humble, who tilled his fields with patient hands and honoured his parents with filial care. From the furrows of obscurity he raised him to the throne, and under Shun's rule the land blossomed like a garden in spring. Shun was the last of the five, yet his name was first in the hearts of men. He ruled with gentleness, his voice a balm upon the wounds of strife, and his eyes were deep with the light of pity. He walked among his people, his cloak stirring in the wind, and the poor blessed his steps, while the proud bowed before his grace. His reign was a dream of peace, a summer that lingered upon the hills, and when he passed, the earth wept beneath the shadow of his loss. Thus flowed the years, though men counted them not in numbers, but in the turning of seasons and the ripening of fruit. The sky deepened from rose to azure, the rivers carved their paths through stone, and the deeds of the three sovereigns and five emperors sank into the soil of memory, there to root and flower in the songs of poets and the dreams of kings. Their names are the pillars of the past, their virtues, the lamps that light the road of time, and though the dust of ages lies upon their brows, their glory shines eternal, bright as the dawn that broke upon the world, when heaven first kissed the earth.